18 hunters killed by rogue, possibly mutant deer. How can you see that and it not pique your interest? I know that it definitely did mine, and well, that's why we're here. So today we're going to be looking at the weird phenomenon of rogue deer huntings. And no, I don't mean like dishonest people going out hunting deer and then something goes wrong. I mean the opposite. Deer hunting people. And no, that's not a joke, even though it does sound like one.
The deer strike back.
I'm warning you now that this is fixing to get increasingly weird, and you'll start to see as we dive deeper into this really weird article just how bizarre all of this really is. I do want to clarify real quick, people did die from this, and so I don't want anybody to think that I'm just sort of undermining somebody's death. There are some very serious things that we will get into as we go, but you also see that the weirder it gets, almost borderline goofy. So since we're all clear on that, you need to hold on to your hats as we dive off into this article that led me down the rabbit hole. And this rabbit hole goes very deep. As soon as I found this article, I was like a kid on Christmas having to run around and tell literally everybody,
hey, look at this cool thing that I got.
And of course, you know, some people were interested, other people were just like, who are you? But I will say, every single person that I talked to that took time to also read this article that I sent them were extremely intrigued. But it also led them and myself to asking a bunch of questions that we never even realized that we had. Starting off with the fact of, is this going to happen to me? This article is from the Northwest Arkansas Democrat Gazette. And of course, I'm from Arkansas, so this had me kind of scratching my head of, when did this take place? Is this, you know, mutant deer still out there? Is it going to get me? And I'm here to tell you that it's most likely not just Arkansas. And with that, you probably have this picture in your head of this wild-eyed mutant deer just running through the woods, finding every single hunter and every single person that it possibly can, and well, you've got the picture in your head. You know what happens next. But if you're like me, whenever you read the title, you only really thought about like Rogue One, and the actual definition of what a rogue deer or a rogue animal actually is over your head. So to help make this picture a little clearer for you so you can really see what's happening. Rogue is an elephant or other large animal, driven away or living apart from the herd and having savage or destructive tendencies. So with that, I gotta point out two things just right up front that really confuse me. The first one, as you can see, is that this article is from November 14th, 2015, from 2:15 a.m. So either this was a last minute thing or somebody else also fell down this rabbit hole. Maybe we're not alone down here. But then you realize that this is just a reposted article from 15 years before in 2000. And it was written by a guy named Otis the Head Cat. So at this point, I was gonna make like a whole joke about the name, but his name is cooler than mine. But my question is, since this article was reposted 15 years later, is it just a reposted, or is there an actual warning behind this for everybody to remember this thing that happened? Because it's not like this was overlooked in the first place. Otis ended up going on to win a bunch of awards and get a ton of recognition. And it also had actions that were taken after the fact to help prevent the supposed 87,000 vicious killing deer from hurting more hunters. Which brings me to the second thing that really just, I don't know what to think about. Because there's a man by the name of Dave Wildman Herbston, we're just gonna call him Dave, who has been the rogue deer monitor for the Arkansas Game of Fish since 1994. But from what I could find, this is the first time anybody knew about any of this. Because of course it seems like they were able to keep it quiet for quite a while, expecting only about 8 to 10 hunters to be killed a year. But in the year 2000, 18 hunters had already been killed in the first week of modern gun season, as well as a number of other survivors that had been attacked that I can't find a number for. It was something everybody took notice of, so much so that this statement had to be made. The reports we're getting is that deer are operating in hunter-killer packs, actually stalking hunters who have become isolated far from the relative safety of their deer camps. At this rate we're going, there could be more than 200 hunters dead before it's all over. And that's coming from Will Wildman Willman, which just sounds like he was either born for this job or he's not a real person. I mean, with initials like, you know, WWW, are they real? .com is what I'm thinking here. But whenever I tried to actually look up any of these people that are mentioned in this article, and I get it's from 2000, I can't find any records of them ever working for the Arkansas Game and Fish. That could just be me not being good at navigating the internet, but I'm just saying there is a lot of weird stuff going on here. Because the other thing is, I've met Steve Wildman Wilson, who was one of the head guys for the Arkansas Game and Fish for many years, and I always just thought that was his nickname until reading this article, and I started thinking that Wildman is kind of a title that is handed to people within the Arkansas Game and Fish. No, I was right the first time. He explains the reason that he got the nickname Wildman is because there were other Steve Wilsons that worked for the Arkansas Game and Fish. So I don't know who these other people are that are also going by Wildman. So just do with that, whatever you will. I don't know. Either way, the wild statement that was made by Wildman about these deer that are being reported as stalking and hunting down hunters that have apparently strayed too far into their territory is just the wildest thing that I've heard. But it's not the first time I've heard this. So a little bit of personal background that really led me to jumping down this hole. Whenever I was around 12 or 13, getting old enough to actually go out and hunt on my own, I would go down to the family farm and try to get a deer. And so my dad decided to give me a warning, which he had also received from other hunters and people that worked for the Arkansas Game and Fish. The warning was simple. Just always be aware of your surroundings. And if you come up on a pack of nice looking bucks that are hanging out in front of you that don't seem to be disturbed by your presence, don't just be in awe of them, but make sure to check around you, because there's going to be another deer that's going to sneak up behind you and make you the prey. Of course, I was caught off guard. Who wouldn't be? And then he begins to explain to me that these deer are called rogue bucks, that this has just been a weird phenomenon going on amongst deer. Now, of course, I had mixed feelings about this. Half of me is thinking that this is just my dad. He's just trying to tell me a cute story to make sure that I'm always aware of what's going on whenever I'm walking through the woods. Don't step on a snake and watch your head when you go under the branch. And I brought this up to a buddy of mine who we used to go hunting together a lot. His name is Levi, and he was, of course, told this same thing. So when I found this article, I had to send it to him and ask him the question if he remembers all of this. And he said that, no, that was just your dad being your dad and trying to spook us. And I mean, we are talking about the same guy that used to dare me to run out to the middle of a cemetery to touch a headstone for $5. And then whenever I would run out there and do it and start coming back, he would start yelling, "Hey, watch out, they're coming after you," which is probably why I'm into a bunch of the weird stuff. But then there was the other half of me. When anytime I was actually in the woods, instead of this just being something in the back of my mind, it was on the forefront of my mind, thinking of all the scenarios and all the things that could happen and watching every single way and making sure there's no deer that are sneaking up behind me, which led me to doing the same thing that my dad did years ago to me, and me sending this article to a bunch of people to warn them of the dangers of rogue deer. Even though it sounds like a joke, there were people that died and were very hurt. And actually, the people that were survivors of all of this were interviewed and questioned on exactly what happened. So Wildman Dave is recorded here saying, "All the accounts we've received so far have been attacks on solitary hunters, including one fellow who was asleep whenever he was knocked out of a tree stand. Pack attack survivors have reported 4 or 5 animals will stand passively across a field to draw the hunter's attention while a buck, the alpha male, stalks the hunter from behind," with another 12 survivors who specifically said they never saw it coming. So with all that information, we need to talk about Ludlow Skiddich. Incorrect. Ludlow Skiddich. Still wrong? Ludlow Skiddich, a soybean farmer from Lone Oak who was brutally struck down while hunting Tuesday in a field near Arkansas 229 and Bum McGriff Road in Dallas County. Now, there were 17 other people during this week that were also struck down, but this one stands out because there's a huge difference. That difference is a photograph. A photograph of the deer that had stalked him down, and well, there's a reason we're talking about him here. Now, if everything so far hasn't been odd enough for you, don't worry, because it gets a lot weirder. The picture of this 68-point white-tailed deer with an inside spread of nearly 3 feet, standing at 5 foot tall and 375 pounds, had a purple tag in its ear. A purple tag that is believed to signify that it is one of 14 deer that had escaped from a farm in London, Arkansas in 1996. 1986, a farm close by Arkansas Nuclear 1, the only nuclear power facility in Arkansas, bringing us back full circle to that picture that was in your head of a mutant deer with a crazed look in its eye. No longer needing just a picture in your head, but a real picture of a real deer with some real history behind it all. Even as unbelievable as it all may seem, it's nothing that you're going to forget anytime soon. If you would like me to cover some of the other deer attacking human articles and stories that I found whenever I was diving down this rabbit hole, just let me know down in the comments, and I would love to know your thoughts on all of this, as well as any suggestions for future topics. And with all that being said, just remember that this is my odd thoughts on some very odd facts about an extremely odd topic. And if you like the video, be sure to leave a like on the video. If you haven't subscribed already, do that so that way you can get more videos like this. And if you did make it to the end of the video, I thank you very much and have an extra blessed day. I'll see y'all next time.